I'm Amy Adams, 44 years old. Recently, I became the sales manager at a major advertising company. One day, I realized I had forgotten to bring the USB that I was supposed to take from my husband, Tyler, who runs his own business. After informing my team, I rushed to Tyler's office in the morning. When I opened the door, Tyler wasn't there, but I heard some noises coming from the meeting room in the back. Is it a client? As I stood in front of the door, I could hear sounds and some kind of conversation from inside. There was also a noise like something bumping and voices arguing. Could it be a burglar? Panicking, I flung the door open and shouted, "What are you doing?" To my surprise, I saw Tyler entangled with someone familiar in a tight embrace. "What is this?" Standing there was Tyler, who muttered awkwardly, "You caught us," along with Karen, my best friend from college, wearing a twisted smile.
Did you use the spare key?
Tyler's hesitant voice, as he tried to gauge my reaction, irritated me. "I texted you, but you didn't read it, and since I had a key, I just thought I'd let myself in." I spoke in a cold, stiff voice, and Karen laughed. "Why are you laughing?"
Because when you finally figured it out, your reaction was just so underwhelming. It's been 5 years now, you know. You were so oblivious that Tyler and I even made bets on when you'd catch on.
Karen smiled at him as she spoke, and Tyler gave a faint, ambiguous smile. Something clicked inside me. Why did you do something like this?
Because every day is just so boring. I get married right after college, and while everyone else was out having fun, I was stuck raising kids, dealing with school admissions, mom friends, and playing the role of the CEO's wife. I've sacrificed myself for all of it. And you know that, don't you?
Was she trying to blame me? Then why don't you just throw that life away? Karen snapped at my calm response.
What? If I could throw it away, I would have done it ages ago. I'm happier with him, and I'll be even happier than you could ever make him.
Tyler, foolishly, seemed moved by her words. Fine, then you can have him.
What?
I'm giving him to you with a bow on top. You're taking over this company, his debt, his work, all of it, right? The divorce papers he signed and left at home. I signed them too, and now I carry them with me wherever I go, so I'll just file them now. Goodbye. With that, I left Tyler's office and went straight to the county court to submit the divorce papers. Then, I called a lawyer and a certain person. Hello. After hanging up, I hailed a taxi. It was a bit early, but I headed to the location of my afternoon meeting. Tyler and I had been colleagues at a major advertising company. I was in sales, and Tyler was a designer. Since we were in different departments, we only knew each other casually for a while after joining the company, but when I was 29, I took over the client Tyler was working with, and we quickly became close. We got married when I was 31 and had a child when I was 32. We enjoyed smooth sailing in both our careers and family life. But that all came crashing down suddenly. 6 years ago, Tyler quit his job without any warning. He said he'd been at the company longer, and yet his younger colleagues were getting the better projects. I was stunned by how childish his reasoning was. But we needed his income for our family. However, Tyler's picky nature made it difficult for him to find a new job. Then, my boss came up with a surprising suggestion.
What if Tyler went independent?
Huh?
He's got a few long-lasting clients, right? If he goes independent, we could pass those projects to him, as long as you take responsibility as the sales lead.
It was what you'd call a connection. My boss must have been trying to help me out of a tough situation. Tyler, thrilled by the opportunity, quickly started his own company, even taking on debt to prepare. Since the work involved continuing with the same projects as before, Tyler could keep doing what he had been doing, just in a different setting. Feeling confident, Tyler then asked me to get more work for him.
Can you bring in more jobs so I can make more money?
Why?
I'm thinking of moving to a bigger place, like an actual office.
With that, Tyler increased his already unpaid debt and rented a fancy office in a relatively new building in downtown Chicago. He invited me to come see it once it was all set up, and when I arrived, the place was so extravagant that I could only give him vague responses to his obvious need for praise. "What are you going to do?" I thought to myself as I headed back to work. That's when I heard someone call my name from behind.
Amy.
I turned around to see Karen standing there. Next to her was her husband, Johnny, who gave me a brief nod. Johnny was the guy I had a crush on back in college. He's now the CEO of a company.
Are you out visiting clients?
No, I just stopped by Tyler's office.
What? Your husband went independent.
Karen was surprised. It was understandable. It wasn't part of the plan for me either. I gave her a small, ambiguous smile and answered quietly, "Yeah." Then Johnny made a surprising proposal.
Amy, if you don't mind, could we hire your husband for some work?
What? To discuss this proposal, I called Tyler, and the four of us went out for dinner.
So, how about we have a meeting at our office tomorrow around 1 p.m.?
Sounds good. I'll definitely be there.
And just like that, Tyler started working with Johnny. Afterward, Tyler often had dinner or played golf with Johnny. And Karen was always by Johnny's side. She used to joke, "I'm just making sure Johnny and Tyler behave themselves." But I guess now that her kids were grown, she finally had time to enjoy being with her husband. I would laugh and say, "Thanks, keep an eye on them," every time I saw them off. And yet, here we are. Betrayed so thoroughly by both my husband and my best friend. And for 5 whole years. After finishing my afternoon meeting, I quickly hailed another taxi and headed to the place I had called earlier. I waited in the CEO's office for a while, and then the door at the back slowly opened. Out stepped Johnny, Karen, and my husband, Tyler. Or rather, my ex-husband now. Karen's expression was tense as she came out of the meeting room in the back.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, I just got here myself.
After that conversation, was the deal still okay?
Of course, I wouldn't let something like that shake me. Johnny gave me a smile and said, "That's what I thought," extending his hand for a handshake. Karen, clearly not pleased with the situation, suddenly burst out.
What is with you two? What's going on here? Are you two having an affair too? Why should we be the only ones getting in trouble if that's the case?
What a completely off-base accusation. Why should I be seen the same way as you two? Johnny and I have reputations to uphold, unlike you. Plus, I have a young child. Do you really think we'd risk everything for some fantasy affair?
Are you calling us stupid?
What else would you call it?
You'd say that to your best friend. Hey, Tyler, isn't this too much?
Seeing Karen clinging to Tyler like that gave me goosebumps. It reminded me of something from long ago, a memory I had almost forgotten. This feels nostalgic.
What?
You've always been good at cozying up to men like that, haven't you? Isn't that how you got Johnny too? Tyler looked confused at my words. Johnny was the guy I had a crush on back in college.
What?
He was an employee at the company where I worked part-time. He had a girlfriend back then, so I just admired him from a distance. Of course, I talked about it with my best friend, Karen. I even cried in front of her. Then Karen, saying she couldn't stand seeing me cry like that, joined the part-time job. But instead of just observing, she did everything she could to make him hers, using the same manipulative techniques you saw earlier. Karen pushed his girlfriend out of the picture and took the guy I liked for herself. Then she had a baby and married him.
I guess he's out of reach now, huh?
When I went to congratulate them on their marriage, Karen said that to me with a calm smile. That's when I realized Karen had deliberately taken the man I liked. That day, I lost my best friend. Karen.
What?
Do you really want everything I have or want?
And if I do?
Did you enjoy it?
Huh?
I'm asking if you enjoyed it. Come on, did you enjoy it? For a moment, Karen hesitated, but then she responded with a twisted smile.
Of course I enjoyed it. Getting what you wanted, the things you cherished, when I could never beat you in grades, looks, or popularity. It was more than fun. It felt amazing, finally being able to put you down.
She was clearly having a blast. Karen was practically laughing as she spoke, which was almost frightening. So, you've been with Johnny for 23 years, and you've been cheating on him with Tyler for 5 of those. You've been deceiving me and enjoying it all this time.
That's right. Not just since college, but even with Tyler, you really never noticed. You were so oblivious that I almost wanted to just tell you.
She looked to Tyler for agreement, and he was grinning. He probably felt emboldened by the fact that we were already divorced. Tyler started to spill everything.
Karen's right. Amy was so easy. I invited Karen over so many times, and she never noticed a thing. At first, I was nervous, but eventually, I got used to it and started having her over even when you weren't home.
Yeah, in the house that you worked so hard to keep tidy. Being with Tyler there, it gave me such a thrill.
Yeah, I remember. Karen was really into it whenever we did it at home.
Come on, stop it, you're embarrassing me.
Are these two idiots? No, they are definitely complete idiots. And idiots need to be punished. I exchanged a glance with Johnny and then said to these fools, I knew about your affair.
What?
I knew from the start. You two have been cheating this whole time. They were clearly not expecting those words to come from me. Tyler and Karen's eyes widened in shock, and they froze.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. Did you really think you weren't caught?
What?
It was completely obvious. Karen's face showed utter confusion, as if asking why. She's the most transparent person you could meet, though she likely doesn't see it that way herself. Remember what I said earlier about how you always want what I have or what I want? That day, when we first met up to discuss Tyler's job, I felt it. It was just like with Johnny. You had that look in your eyes, Karen, the look of a manhunter.
No way.
Karen, you can't hide your feelings. You're incredibly transparent. Even when you tagged along for dinners or golf with Johnny and Tyler, you never had the face of someone just keeping an eye on things. It was obvious you were targeting him.
That's not true.
Of course, Johnny knew too. The dinners, the golf. Johnny was actually keeping an eye on you too. Did you realize that?
What?
Karen finally seemed to grasp our intent, and her face turned pale.
So you both knew about us from the beginning.
We knew. We let you do what you wanted. You thought I was easy, but you two were the easy ones. We had you wrapped around our fingers. I really have to thank Johnny for jumping in right away. He saw through you immediately, and everything went smoothly from there. As Karen sank deeper into despair, Tyler asked for confirmation.
So, the dinners and golf invites were?
As Amy said, it was to keep an eye on you two. Or more accurately, to gather evidence. That's why I invited you both out so often. And you two took the bait every time. Amy and I used to laugh at how simple-minded you were.
Tyler clearly hadn't expected someone like Johnny to do something like this. He was at a loss for words, struggling to piece together a response.
Surprised that I'd do something like this? Karen's caused me a lot of trouble over the years. I'm no saint. Plus, our daughter is now an adult, so it's time to set things straight.
For some reason, Tyler seemed almost relieved. Likely thinking that if Karen divorced Johnny, they could be together, and his future would look bright. This is likely his line of thinking. But Karen's expression was anything but bright.
Set things straight.
Divorce. I'm divorcing you. That's already decided.
Johnny's cold declaration cut through Karen's shaky, barely audible voice. Karen panicked and clung to him.
Please, forgive me. It was just a fling. My family is what's most important.
She continued to spout insincere apologies. But Johnny wasn't listening. Beside them, Tyler stared blankly at her, clearly shocked by her words.
Weren't you going to be with me?
What?
Didn't you say you wanted to be with me? That you were tired of your current life and would be happier with me?
Indeed, Karen had said that earlier, which had made Tyler happy and led me to file for divorce. But Karen denied it without hesitation.
What? That was just part of the thrill. And then you actually went and filed the divorce papers. It totally killed the vibe. We're done. I'm going back to my family.
The passion she had shown earlier was nowhere to be seen. Karen's face had lost all warmth toward Tyler.
Wait a minute. You kept saying you wanted to be with me, that we should both get divorced and start over together. You said that if I divorced my wife, I'd get a big chunk of the assets, and we could start new life together with that money. You said that, right?
Tyler's voice trembled as he tried to keep his composure, his face on the verge of tears.
You're an idiot if you took that seriously.
Karen's cold words cut through him. Tyler started trembling, and then his face turned red with anger as he shouted,
You're messing with me. You said, my husband's been nothing more than an ATM to me. I've never enjoyed a moment of our marriage. I don't even know why I married him. The only thing he has going for him is his money, and that's the only reason I stayed with him. I've always said it was fun to be with you because you're not about the money. You do what you want, and I like that about you. You said that to me over and over again.
Tyler was almost ready to grab her, but Karen remained unfazed.
Calm down, will you?
She's way too used to it. I glanced at Johnny, who was watching Karen, with a stern expression.
Anyway, you were the one who started this, right? Betraying your best friend, Amy, without a second thought. Of course, I'm at fault for going along with it, but what you did was so cruel.
And what are you trying to say now after you fell for the trap set by this cruel woman?
Yeah, it's too late now. I lost my way. I quit my job without consulting Amy, overestimating myself. I couldn't even find another job. The only reason I have work now is because of Amy. The stress and pressure were overwhelming. So I ran to you for comfort, both emotionally and physically.
As Tyler continued speaking, he regained his composure and explained calmly. He hadn't intended for it to happen this way at the start. But after their first meal together, Karen started coming by his office more often, subtly exploiting his weaknesses until she slipped into his life without him even realizing it. Before long, it became normal, and even when Johnny invited him to golf or dinner, he was distracted by Karen. He had been using his relationship with Karen to maintain his emotional balance. And somehow, he started expecting to benefit from Johnny's wealth, just as Karen had suggested.
In the end, I was just running away from my own weakness.
Tyler hung his head down, whispering weakly. So Karen had been playing him skillfully all along. That makes sense. Though Karen was no longer my best friend, we hadn't completely cut ties. There were still times when we'd hang out, sometimes just the two of us, and other times with other friends. Karen probably remembered every detail, including the good and bad things I said about Tyler, and used that information to her advantage. Karen really is the epitome of a woman, I thought as I pondered the situation. But just as I was lost in thought, Karen started up again.
Wait, what do you mean you quit your job because you overestimated yourself and couldn't find another one?
She pressed Tyler, her tone sharp. So he hadn't told her the real reason he quit his job. Or rather, he hadn't wanted to.
My going independent was a fluke. I quit my job on a whim and couldn't find another, so I had no choice but to go independent.
What? I thought you went independent because you were good at what you do. I thought you were a capable man.
I was just doing my job. I didn't think it was necessary to tell you the details.
Tyler mumbled, and Karen suddenly started laughing.
Is that so? Well, that's a relief.
What?
I guess Amy really is just unlucky.
What?
Isn't it obvious? The guy you liked got taken by me, and the man you finally caught turned out to be a useless loser. In the end, Amy had to shoulder all the hardships, working yourself to the bone. Meanwhile, I'm living the high life as a CEO's wife and a stay-at-home mom. Honestly, you must be so jealous.
Karen laughed out loud, enjoying her moment of triumph. This was her classic power play. Sure, I hadn't lived a life as easy and luxurious as Karen's, but I had been happy in my own way. Even with all the ups and downs with Tyler, I had been happy. But Karen seemed to take my silence as proof that I couldn't respond.
What's wrong? Hit too close to home, so you've got nothing to say. No wonder, with a miserable life like yours, there's nothing you could possibly say to me.
As Karen sneered, Johnny interjected.
Maybe the one who has been truly miserable all along is you.
What?
I said, the one who has been truly miserable since getting married is you.
What are you talking about?
Think about it. You cozied up to me, got pregnant, and married me just to take someone else's man. You chose to spend your life with someone you didn't even love, all for the sake of your pride. You didn't really want to get married in the first place. You're not suited for marriage at all.
What?
So, you kept cheating, making insincere apologies. Where's the happiness in that? Is having money and freedom the same as being happy? You know that's not true. Deep down, you've known it all along.
Wait. Could Johnny have known about Karen's schemes back then? Karen and I were both stunned at the possibility that Johnny knew she had gone after him just because I liked him. Whether he was aware of our thoughts or not, Johnny continued.
Of course, when we got married, I had no idea. I just found you cute because you showed interest in me. So we started dating.
Then why?
After you had our daughter, you started secretly meeting with different men. You thought you were being discreet, but you've always been an open book, for better or worse. And when you met up with those men, you had to leave our daughter, Sarah, with someone. You'd be surprised at what kids say.
What are you talking about? I didn't start cheating until Sarah was in middle school.
There's no need to cover it up anymore. I've known for about 20 years now about you leaving Sarah with a sitter to meet men, and about bringing men into our home.
What?
Like I said, you'd be surprised at what kids say.
No way.
You used to leave Sarah with me on my days off, saying you were going to meet friends. Remember, during those times, Sarah would tell me everything about what you were up to when I wasn't home.
Are you seriously telling me you believed what a child, barely old enough to talk, said? You trust our daughter, Sarah, more than you trust me.
I trust everything Sarah says.
What? Are you saying you don't trust me?
How can I trust anything that's built on lies from the start?
And who told you that I was trying to steal someone else's man?
Your former fling.
What?
He told me you planned to dump me after taking your friend's crush, but then you ended up getting pregnant unexpectedly. Still, You thought you could settle because I had a good job and money. He even mocked me, saying I was so easy to deceive and sneak out on, wondering if I'd be okay. I've known about your web of lies for about 20 years now.
I had consulted Johnny about this situation 5 years ago. At that time, he had calmly listened to my concerns, even though they were about his wife's affair. Now I realize he had harbored distrust toward her for 20 years. I was shocked, even though it wasn't my own situation.
What about Sarah?
What?
What does Sarah think of me?
She feels nothing but contempt. You were the mother who brought men into the house while knowing she was there. Sarah left home despite going to a college in the city because she couldn't stand to be around you. Being in that house constantly reminded her of what you did.
Remembering his daughter, Johnny's voice trembled as he placed some papers in front of Karen.
These are divorce papers.
What?
Sign them right here, right now. I'm ending this today.
Karen, stunned, immediately began pleading with Johnny.
I promise I'll never do it again. Family is what matters most to me.
As Karen's shrill voice filled the room, I looked over at Tyler, who was biting his lip. I've already talked to a lawyer.
What?
We'll handle alimony and child support through the lawyer. Just make sure you cooperate.
I'm sorry.
Also, we're moving out of the house. Do whatever you want with it.
What?
My son and I will start moving our stuff out right now.
Wait, why?
I made arrangements with Johnny earlier to secure a place for emergencies.
What?
Johnny is also in real estate, so he's helped arrange for movers, too.
You've got to be kidding me.
Tyler's face twisted in disbelief. You've messed with the wrong person. Johnny's going to pull all his work from you now.
What?
And, by the way, remember that most of your current work is connected to me.
Wait, hold on a second.
Do you remember what my boss said back then? He warned you there wouldn't be a second chance. Tyler's contorted expression showed no sign of relief. In the back, Karen was still lashing out at Johnny. As I glanced at the scene, my eyes met Johnny's. He gave me a soft smile that seemed at odds with the situation, and I nodded before quietly leaving the room. Some time later, I received word from Johnny that his divorce from Karen had been finalized. Karen had fought hard against it, but after realizing there was no way to escape, given the evidence Johnny had collected over the years and their daughter's testimony, she eventually gave in. Because Karen's long-term infidelity was the cause of the divorce, her share of the assets was significantly reduced, leaving her with only a small amount as a former CEO's wife.
Did the payments on your end go through smoothly?
Yes, the alimony was paid in full as a lump sum the other day. Child support is also being paid with the involvement of Tyler's parents.
His parents?
Yeah, they were furious about the whole situation and came to take Tyler back to his hometown. They made him get a job with one of their acquaintances and are keeping a close watch on him. Negotiating with Tyler had been challenging. After all, he was an unemployed, debt-ridden freelancer. While I was an executive at a major company, Tyler tried to use my position to push for lower alimony and child support payments. But his parents were furious with him.
Take responsibility for your own mess. That's what it means to be a grown man.
They told him as they dragged him back to their hometown, forcing him into a job where they could monitor him and make sure he worked hard to pay what he owed. As a result, the alimony payments have been coming in regularly, and they are quite substantial.
That's a significant amount.
It is. My son started private school in this September, and Tyler's parents insisted he cover all the costs. They said if he doesn't have money in hand, he's less likely to get into trouble, and it gives them peace of mind.
I see.
Tyler is now working at a small factory in a rural town. The salary is significantly lower compared to what he used to earn in the city. After paying most of it toward child support, he's left with just a few $100s. On top of that, Tyler has a mountain of debt he accumulated when he was being reckless. It amounts to several tens of thousands of dollars, and unless he pays a substantial amount each month, the principal won't decrease at all. A pretty dire situation. Apparently, after his factory job, he's working a night shift as a security guard to make extra money.
So, no time or money left for fun, huh?
Well, there aren't many places to have fun or people to hang out within the countryside, anyway. He left for the city because he hated rural life, and now here he is, I said with a laugh. Tyler was clearly not suited for city life.
Oh, by the way, how's the transition going with the work he was handling?
It's going well. We've assigned a younger team member to take over. They have great talent and a good personality. There might be some rough patches, but I appreciate your understanding.
Of course. How about we have a kick-off dinner with your team sometime soon?
That sounds great. My team will love it.
Perfect. I'll follow up with details later.
With that, I ended the call. As the phone screen went dark, I saw my reflection, smiling naturally.